But makes sense.
Black and gold. You see the Arctic Fox, Christopher Luke
I
collaboration.
did.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. Just the tease.
Yeah, but you kind of know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have an idea what it looks like.
Oh, all right, Gary's here already. Nice flow through. Everybody, welcome to Geek Together. We have another artist interview series episode today. It's your host, Damien, and with me is...
Robbie.
And Clint.
And Klav, thanks for joining us again. I know been homebound for a while recently, but you've been killing it. You've been just so many things I've seen in the last year since last we spoke. And we're just catching up before the show here, and I really want to kind of jump into a lot of activities. So last time, we'll just go all the way back. Last time we spoke, you were just about to release Tank, which is your design and toy. And a matter of fact, I don't know if Robbie, if you mind pulling that up on the Instagram there, so we can kind of show what people were talking about. Mm-hmm. What is it? I really, I don't even know how to begin the conversation because there's so much there. Like before we talked about, we didn't see the reveal. Get Robbie to show a picture of it, but you're telling me right before the show that you've seen the vinyl. You started off struggling where to start there. You started off with just sculpting in the resin pieces, right? That's what you did first.
Yeah. So the original piece for the Tank Club Sofubi, I actually built that out of combination of like 3D printing and model parts, and I kind of had it around. I had it kicking around for a while and couldn't figure out really what I wanted. I knew I wanted to have something made in Japan, and I'm an old model guy, so
that's some of the newer stuff. You got to scroll down a little bit more.
Yes, you got to go down a little bit more. So it was a keep going.
Oh, you can just keep admiring all this stuff. I mean, my God.
I can't talk about it at the same time. But
right there's a tank. There's one that's a colorway.
So it's a 3-piece soft vinyl toy that's made in Japan, and it's sort of a combination of like R2-D2 and like Metal Slug, one of my favorite video games. And so it was just sort of like this goofy thing, and I wanted to come up with something where if I like. It'd be easy to paint, where I wouldn't get bored if I had to paint 50 or 100. To this point in time, we've pulled 300 of them.
300, okay.
And the cool thing about Sofubi in Japan is you pay for the mold, and then after that you pay for each pull. So it's not necessarily like you're locking into buying 400 or 500 toys.
Really? I did not know that.
So
it's not like kind of the Chinese vinyl factory.
Yeah, where the Chinese normally you have like a 250 to 500 limit.
Do you get a bulk discount or anything like that?
No, not necessarily. And the cool thing is, it's like what's funny is when the first order I ordered 80. And they were like, you don't have to order 80. You can order 20. And I was like, no, I think I need 80. And then of course in like 2 weeks I was out. So I took I took the master, and then I actually mailed it to Japan, and they cast it in wax, and then they make the mold, and then there were a couple, and then they'll do test polls and come up with, we'll see what's, fix some things that are wrong. And it's a cool process. If you, on YouTube, there's a couple different, I think there's one video I've watched where it's like an American guy goes to a factory and pulls his own vinyl.
Oh, really?
And so you really see the process. It's a cool process. It's a little bit different than like PVC vinyl. That most toys are made out of, where they like sort of spin it around and do all like roto casting and stuff like that. This is the slush casting is more like it's kind of like the equivalent of like how toilets are made. Where with ceramic they pour the clay into a plaster mold.
Okay.
And then, the plaster absorbs the water, and then you pour it out. You pour the inner out. So Sofubi is essentially the same way. is it heats the mold. The mold's hot, and it sort of cooks the vinyl. And then the cool thing is there's no seam on it. So when they yank it out of the mold, it comes out of like one tiny hole. So there's no seam anywar on the vinyl.
Because it's really pliable to come out in the molds.
Yeah, and so you can heat it up. So basically, when you put it together and take it apart by heating it up with like a heat gun.
So that makes sense. I mean, I've always wondered what made the difference between the Japanese vinyl and the PVC work that we see from a lot of places. I had no idea.
So there's some, it's weird. There's starting to be less and less differences between Chinese vinyl and Japanese vinyl, and I think there's even somebody in Denver doing it now, or in Colorado.
I guess it's the process, right? So as long as they want to invest in the process and the materials.
Yeah, I do think there's a little in the U.S. there's some environmental protection. Like the EPA, I think, has limits onto some of the chemicals you can get. So I think that's what's holding up people here.
That makes sense. So you've only done this in Japanese vinyl. You haven't done this in any other format?
Yeah, no. So, and so it was in
this picture I have up right now.
Yep.
This tank has 3 different guns. Are those 3 different pulls?
Yeah, those are 3. So I had, so what happened was there was a little miscommunication. I was told to have option parts so I could essentially release one and then a couple months later release another. And I wasn't thinking I made 3 separate guns. So basically if you buy a blank, it comes with three guns. And then if I paint one, if I paint one, I only put 1 in each. So that's why that's why they're always in sets of 3. Because I'm just mixing it up. So I'm basically painting the same one 3 times, but with different guns, making them. So there's like a rocket launcher, a machine gun, and like just a cannon. So
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So I have hundreds of those stupid guns everywhere.
Yeah. So I haven't been able to get a tank yet. I mean, your stuff whenever I see it go up places, your stuff tends to sell pretty fast. And
the funny thing is, I was talking to my wife earlier today about it. And I was like, I think I just need to start releasing some of these. I'm constantly painting things for shows.
Yeah.
And like big shows. And I get like I put all my effort into building like a huge body of work, and I'll try to finish 40 pieces or 60 pieces and painting tank. I'm going to try to start releasing tanks like weekly.
Okay.
Because I can sort of bang them out, and it also keeps the flow going.
Keeps the challenge of doing something different all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're fun. Like today, I actually am getting ready for Comic-Con in New York. I painted 15 tanks today.
Wow,
so,
nice. So where are you going to be with a show vendor or?
Yeah. A bunch of people have asked me to show with them, and Stormy Vault and Invasion Toys. So I'm going to hook each one of those booths up with some custom tanks.
Oh, nice. Well, I know Stormy Vault very well. This might be my chance.
All right.
Gotta take a shot.
Hey, I'm just saying. Sometimes it does help to know people. It does help. In the toy business,
so
for sure.
But and then right after, I mean, this fall, like, I don't know if you guys following, like, what's essentially happened. Every toy show, every toy convention in the world is happening in the month of October, and basically October 1 through November 15th. It's insane of how many shows there are, and I was originally going to try to go to Thailand is like the first week of October. It's basically the same week as Comic-Con in New York, and then Taipei Toy Festival's the week after. I was like, oh, cool, I'll go to Thailand and I'll go to Taipei. And obviously the world hasn't really recovered yet. So I'm not.
It's a weird state right now. We're going. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not going to Thailand or Taipei or anything. We're going to, but we are going to New York Comic Con. So
Right.
let's put it this way: we booked everything, but it's like you book everything. It's like a couple months ago, like, oh, everything's opening up. We're recovering.
Yeah.
We got vaccines, critical mass, blah blah blah, and now we're going backwards.
Right.
And so I get concerned with that. Like, okay, well, New York's kind of an epicenter. Hopefully that stays okay. We're going out to LA for something next week. And then we have Decon right around the corner.
Right.
And like you said, everything's kind of happening in the fall because everybody's trying to get it in there because
and
it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, and then Five Points, which is another New York show, is Halloween weekend. So it's like you have it basically between New York Comic Con, 5 Points, and Designer Con, which are all U.S. based.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically 6 weeks for 3 monstrously large shows.
Yeah,
and then you're not, and then you have to basically factor in there's going to be no international buyers or very few.
Very few coming into the States.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And
I mean,
that's sort of the how I was like, we were trying to figure out Asia earlier this summer, and I was like, if you're in Thailand, you may only get Thai buyers, and if you're in Taiwan, you may only get Taiwanese buyer. Like, there's no. The nice thing is, like, you go to a show like Thailand Toy Expo, and every there's Thai people, there's Chinese people, there's guys from Hong Kong, there's guys from Taiwan, there's Australian people. Like, it's all sort of all over the place.
It's all over there, yeah.
But now because everybody's borders are closed still, so you're sort of,
You got to think that they all work together. You got to think that people are streaming and they're buying remote.
Right.
I know that's what I'm doing a lot of, right? So I have friends in Singapore and China, and wherever people have to go, you have to network out, because even when you're not able to be in those shows and you want stuff, that's what you have to do anyway, because you can't. I mean, realistically, if you're working full time, look, I got to keep a job in order to keep buying these things, and so I don't get time off to go around the world. So I spend a lot of my time networking, and it goes both ways, right? Like, I got a lot of people reaching out to me for New York, for 5 Points, for New York Comic Con, for Decon, for all the different things that are going on here, the gallery shows, you name it, right? To pick up things for them. And in return, I kind of go, they're at the cons that you're targeting items to see what releases are there. And I imagine even at the upper level, where you're looking more at the retail buyers or the mass buyers or people placing orders for things like you're talking about, it's got to be very similar, right? Because everybody wants to be able to move the product both places. The desire has been higher than ever.
Right.
The appetite for the market, anyway, I've seen explode even through a pandemic pretty heftily, I think. It certainly seems like there has been no slowing growth on artists hitting the scene, releases you're able to support, the people going to the galleries. Like I said, like, I've gone for a couple, you've had some stuff at Clutter, you've had some stuff with Jonathan, you've had some stuff on your own. Like, it flies. I mean, you have a huge demand, and that the appetite hasn't changed, and more people get to know you. It becomes harder and harder. And so it's like that balance of, but you want everything to be, I love the smaller releases and the uniqueness that you get in them. And until recently, I never was able to hold your stuff in my hands. And I've gotten a couple pieces now, and the depth, like, it's one thing to talk about your paint work and everything, but having it in hand, it's really phenomenal. I mean, it's real clean work, and a lot of depth you get with those colors. Even, it's funny, you think, like, we have that style on on many different releases that you have, that you can instantly tell it's yours, but how different it is on everything you apply it to.
Well, just wait, the tiny ghosts were
I know
you're doing a collab there.
yes he is. Well, he's doing a Tiny Ghost show with Jonathan. I got approval from Jonathan before I wanted to ask about that. He's shown me a couple things.
There's 10 of those. My issue when somebody hands me 10 blanks, I just can't paint them all the same. So each one is different, but like, I really like it was such a nice size, and it was a good surface area. So I was able to like really tweak some of the surfaces. And but yeah, when Jonathan saw me, he was like, dude, I can't believe you haven't painted these before. They came out really good.
Awesome.
pretty happy with it. So
It did come. I have a picture of it. I'm asking John if I can show it, or maybe I could ask you if I can show it, or if you have one to show. But I think the Tiny Ghost is a perfect example of a simple mold and how much depth you get in with your style and the way that you're using colors.
Yep.
When he showed me the picture that he sent me of one of the ghosts there, to get, of course, so just a little background. My wife, myself, we're really big. We're the admins of the BIM Toy group. We work really closely with Joe and Clinton, Robbie, both of them on here are admins of the group with me.
Yep.
We've been working with BIM Toy for a really long time, since the beginning. Reese O'Brien's a good friend. My wife has every single Tiny Ghost ever released, including like the resins before. So when we saw so that's why Jonathan had to show me the picture of it, what you've done there. And I was like, oh yeah, we got to get one of these things. This is right. It's just that the way it looks is pretty cool. And I only saw one colorway, so I can only imagine that they're all different and how it's going to work. It's going to be interesting.
The photos I have, I only took like a photo of all 10 together on my phone.
Yeah, well, we don't want to do that. I have one single photo.
And then and then there's I'm still processing some of the individual ones. I'm pretty sure he sent you the one was like pink and yellow and orange.
Yeah, with the blue eyes. Yeah.
You might as well show us now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can show it. Go ahead.
All right. Let me share my screen here. There we go.
Suspense is killing me. Yep, that's
Look
yours.
at that.
You can tell. It's great.
Oh yeah.
And then on the back that's not photoed, I did like a little skull
I think I actually
logo
have that on here.
Logo with like
oh no, that's a different one. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yep.
And that's my name in Japanese, and that's sort of just on all of them, just to make it a little bit more, spice it up a little,
Oh, now I'm getting in trouble because I never showed my wife the picture. Oops, she's in the chat. Yeah. Why am I not seeing these? Oh, sorry. There you go. Why did you get shot? Anyway, but that's what I mean. Is like it's a simple sculpt with a Tiny Ghost, right? I mean, but it's a nice blank canvas.
Yeah.
And to see the depth you get with the color fades and the kind of the rustiness you put on there,
Yep.
When is that show anyway? When's he planning on doing that? That's next month, right?
I
say it's August.
Yeah, I think it's towards the end of August. I think it was originally supposed to be at the beginning of August, maybe.
Yeah, they had to shift it back. Yeah, we have a run of Dahlias going in the same show. Yeah, we're working on for him for that same thing. So it's going to be cool.
My daughter's about to walk into the frame.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's okay.
I'm on a podcast.
Peyton never does that. Ava never does that.
Yeah, my daughter never does that. Yeah, never. That's the world we live in now. I'm in work meetings all day. Kids come running in. It doesn't matter. Everybody that's the way it is now.
And I'm like I said, I'm sort of stuck with the broken leg. I'm stuck on my couch. So I sit at my couch, my kitchen table, my front porch, and my bed. That's about it.
Oh. Well, at least you still got your hands. Good thing you didn't break those.
Yeah.
Your moneymaker, if you will.
I did actually. I broke my right hand 9 years ago. Divorce-related activity.
Oof. Good description.
Yeah, being divorced, I'm not shocked by this. Yeah.
Punched a wall and broke 2 bones in my boxer fracture in my right hand. And it was right before it was my first trip to Japan. And I got to meet one of my pretty much my main influence, Ko Yokoyama, and I went out to dinner with him and his wife, and I had a broken hand, and we went to a place that obviously only had chopsticks, and I had taught myself how to eat with my left hand, and his wife was like blown away that I could actually do it.
Oh wow!
With chopsticks.
Chopsticks with my left hand. But I don't recommend for any artist. Don't punch anything. Just stop.
Yeah, no, don't mess up those hands. Don't mess up the moneymakers there. That's true. So you got the Tiny Ghost show coming. I'm interested more in the tank process. So yeah, I was misunderstood because I didn't have one. I didn't know if because it went so quickly, it seemed to go quickly. Now, of course, we just heard about it toward the end, probably. But for me, it seemed like we talked to you and then we saw him.
It was roughly about a year from when I sent the master out to when I got my first tank.
Okay. Yeah. So it does take a while.
However, though, if I basically get I can reorder, and the reorders are about 40 days from when I place the order to when they show up. Mm-hmm. So the mold, because now it's just there. It's like it's in their stockpile, where it's like, oh, Klav wants 20 more tanks.
They just pull them. So the initial cost is on the initial mold. So you put it all front end. You front end it there. Yeah. And then you can kind of order a la carte.
Yeah.
I always wondered how a lot of Sofubi artists did really small runs of things and then large, I thought, especially when you're talking when the color and everything's in the vinyl itself, in the soft vinyl, a lot of it, so they're doing like when they're doing an LE3, it means that they could do 3 pulls and it doesn't cost a lot of tooling after they already have the mold out there. Do we might have an internet?
It must be.
Yeah.
Either that or he's really thinking hard.
That is a downside.
Yeah. No.
Oh, wait. So either way, he froze up. So
at least he froze in a really good pose, though. I feel like if I would have frozen it all.
Oh, I've been. You should sometimes. I'll freeze up on a show or not a show, a Zoom call. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you dropped that. We'll wait for him to get back in here. Let's see. I'll check Instagram over here. But anyway, it is kind of crazy to think a year to take to get that process done. So I'm interested in seeing all the different steps it takes there.
While we're waiting, you want to show off some stuff we got this week?
Yeah, let's do that. I'll start with you, Clint. What did you get new this week?
Well, I wanted you guys to start because I have a feeling we have some of the same stuff.
I don't know. I think I got some. I think I have some completely different than you guys do.
Well, Robbie, why don't you start?
I don't have anything by me.
I was anticipating. Well, all right. Well, how about that? While you're doing that, I will show off one thing I got.
There you go.
So,
show off one thing you got.
I am now an official Sune collector. So,
nice.
I did get the Beehive one. I didn't get the Chase, which is fine, but I did get the. I'm sorry, the light's kind of washing it out, but the yellow, and yellow looks really nice on this thing. It's bigger than I thought. That tail's got a point to it. It came wrapped, so you can watch it. So it looks really nice. I'm actually really happy to have this and excited to add it to my designer toy shelf. And I love the packaging. I know you guys know I'm a sucker for packaging. So.
Oh, she did a great job. Hey, there you are.
There you are.
Yeah.
Nice little bag there.
My wife was streaming. My kid was streaming. And you guys disappeared.
Yeah, that does happen. No, that's fine.
Hogging all the bandwidth.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
So, so it was about a year process from start to finish. I think that's where we were.
Yep, that's where we're at.
All right, and it's cool. The nice thing. Yes, it was an initial investment. Roughly, it was a couple $1,000s for the mold. And
still not that bad when you think about it.
It's not too bad. Like you hear these horror stories, like if you're paying attention to like people's Kickstarters, where they're having these huge toys and there's 13 pieces and they raise $20,000. That's a good chance that mold is going to take all a good amount of that.
Yeah, after doing mold, because each piece is a mold, right?
Yeah. So I purposely started with something small. Mm-hmm. and minimal pieces with the idea of like I didn't know if it was going to be successful. I didn't know if there was going to be a market. I didn't want to get burned. I didn't want to dump like 5 or 6,000 into it and then have it not be good. You know.
Well, I think the cool thing about the tank itself, is it really kind of symbols your background, a nod to your background of the model work that you did for a long time. You were talking about when we
Yep.
first met, the models you did, and it's a very unique piece comparatively. Most pieces are around a figure, whether it be a monster type, whatever, or whatever. This is very kind of futuristic, mechanical, but also has personality in it, in the way you're doing it. So it's a unique piece. I mean, when I saw it, of course, we know it's your art. And again, back to the kind of the nod of the type of like the literally tanks you were building, and in the model world, and the gun and all the different things you were talking about last time, and putting into a small compact figure like that, it looked like something out of a video game too. I mean, I think maybe that's the reference you're making before, but it's cool. The size of it, I mean, what size is it? Wait, 4 inches?
It's like 4? Just under 4 inches. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks about 4 inches, and the form factor is perfect to fit into a lot of people's collections and shelves. And then there's enough canvas there, and you've shown it through your releases of making it very unique. And I didn't know. I thought, I don't know, for some reason, because maybe it was the timing, I thought you were doing resin pieces at first. I didn't know you just went straight to the soft vinyl.
Yeah, well,
100%.
I did. Yeah, I did. Before I sent the master away, I cast it. I made a mold and made some really bad resin casts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't I don't use a pressure pot or anything, so my casting is leaves some things to be desired, but it was enough that I think throughout the year while I was waiting, I think I made 5 or 6 resin pieces, and then and that also allowed me to I wanted to paint a couple of them before I sent the master away, just to make sure that it was like worthwhile. And it, it's like I said, it's been a successful year. We had a show at Clutter that I don't know how many artists were in it, maybe like somewhere between 20 and 30 artists, and I think all but like 2 sold out. And it was actually kind of cool. It was the first time I've had other artists work on my stuff.
So that was back in May, right?
Yeah, that was in May. And it was a lot of fun. If you scroll up, I think you'll see that there may be some pictures from the Clutter show. But it was cool. Like Quicks did a piece, CZ did a bunch. It was like I called in a couple favors from some people that I work with and know, and it was a lot of fun, and I've had a couple. The next batch that's going to get released is Robin's Nest Collectibles.
Okay, yep, we know them.
They're doing there's a convention in Orlando in the
they're
middle
based
of
in
August.
Florida. That's right. Yeah.
And I'm sending 3 tanks down to them.
Oh, nice.
For that show. And then after that, the next ones will be at Comic-Con. But that was a one I cut apart. One of the things I do is I like to cut toys apart and fill them with model parts and their mechanical guts. So I made like a one-off inside of the tank. And that was in the Clutter show. It was a lot of fun. Like, it's just sort of like, I mean, that's the thing, like you look at like Cause, like him, like, he cut the companion apart, and then obviously Jason Freeney cuts like everything, and then that obviously that's going back to like all the old kaiju drawings of like the Godzilla monsters, and, all the like semi-dissected drawings where they show in like the bone structure and the muscle structure, and so that's the whole, sort of have a lot of fun with that. And,
I actually have here some of the stuff from that show. I think it's from that show. I hope I have the right thing.
No, those are the
well, not that one here.
those are from those were my pieces from the show. I think if you scroll back to my the main page, and there's a if you go up a little more, I think that wall, the one with like the rainbow, so that sort of shows all the colors.
Right here.
No, to the right, yeah, right there. So the interesting thing is, I've sort of learned the lesson too, is that if you hold out for a color and you really want a color,
Mm-hmm.
it will take longer. But if you just have them pour what they have, it goes a lot faster.
Oh, so just say, hey, just pour whatever
So
colors you have laying
yeah,
around and give me one of each or whatever.
yeah, just what colors you got, I'll take whatever, and I've ended up with some cool colors. The last couple I've gotten though, I've gotten like black, brown, dark blue, and not necessarily things I would have chose, but it's kind of nice to have. So this was for the clutter show, we put them all out just to show you like the variety.
No, it's neat. It's a cool picture.
Yeah, and
Well, for your type of what you do, I mean, any of these colors you can turn into whatever based off your style.
yeah, the color
really
doesn't
cool.
really matter. Really doesn't matter for me to paint them.
Yeah.
And I've only released, I think for clutter we released 20 blanks. And then when I first released them, I think I released 20 as well. I've released very few unpainted blanks. At Comic-Con, there will be some
In New York?
Yeah, in New York. There will be some unpainted ones, but not too many. I'm sort of hoarding them.
Well, good.
So these ones right here, these are what other people did, right?
Yeah.
If you
the
stop
one right
sharing real quick. Oh,
You
go
have
ahead.
some?
Yeah, I have quite a few here, I think.
Okay. I'll let that go. Let Damien
Yeah.
pull that up.
Yeah, it was a pretty good a good variety of people, and I forget the dude's name from Rampage Toys. Oh yeah, so that was JFO.
Yep.
And that one's like all like that one spun around and like it lit
Oh,
up.
really?
And, like,
Oh, wow.
he put lights in the gun, and like it was really cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's Evil Dave from Texas.
Oh, wow.
That one was, I think,
Flamethrower.
Usher Monsters, I think, or Usher. And Brandon from Motley Miscreations asked me if he could cast it and do a double cast.
Mm-hmm.
And originally, I was like, "Yeah, that sounds awesome." And he was like, "Yeah." And then the molding's going to be a real pain, so maybe we can work together. We can do a future release. And he said it was so hard doing it, he doesn't want to do anymore.
Wow. They look good, though.
Yeah, it looks
those
great.
were awesome. Those were awesome.
Those look really cool. I mean, yeah.
And I think they glowed too. So
The double cast makes sense. Okay.
yeah.
And these are yours that you did.
Yeah. Those were mine. And then I did 9 of my own.
Now, so we were talking about color earlier. What color are those before you paint them?
Those were probably like red or orange or something.
Really? Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I paint everything with this this like maroon primer.
Okay.
It's like a surfacer, but it's basically like a red oxide.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it doesn't. Yeah. When people ask me like, hey, like designers will be like, "Oh, I'm sending you toys. What color do you want?" I always just it doesn't matter.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter. The one thing about Sofubi though is clear. Any clear Sofubi tends to be a little bit softer. So if you're gonna paint it, unless you're using vinyl paint, you want to try to have your like the harder Sofubi, like you want the vinyl to be harder, because if you can squeeze it, there's a chance that your paint's gonna crack.
It's gonna crack up. Yeah, I've seen that. We've learned a lot about that recently, and actually we know some artists that we've asked that do resin, and they only paint Sofubi, like they only do softer vinyl stuff. Yeah.
So also don't put them outside to dry because
Oh no, because you can.
The
If
vinyl-
it heats up
the
too much,
vinyl
the
heats
vinyl
up.
will. Yeah.
yeah, it heats up and expands, and then it cracks your paint.
Yep.
Lesson learned the hard way.
And this is the one that we
Um,
saw a minute ago
Yep.
with the insides. Oh, that's neat.
And then I did some we put in some pieces that were like some of the influences
Mm-hmm.
that got me to the designing the tanks. And this was actually this is an old piece from early 2000s. I think it was like 2006, 2007. Seems weird to say early 2000s.
Right.
um, that's a collaboration between Ko Yokoyama from Machine and Krieger and Uncle Toys. But like old, the very beginning of like Kid Robot, like urban vinyl, and that thing was like a foot tall.
Oh wow!
And so I painted it like old, like classic Machine and Krieger. But that was sort of a grail piece for me to collect, and then I ended up with a couple of them, and I painted one for the show.
Nice.
Yep,
you got up there, yeah.
And then the next piece there is that's a resin tank that was made by the original was made by Ko Yokoyama in the 80s, and a Korean artist got the master and 3D scanned it and had it made in resin. And I picked that up years ago, and it was just sort of it was like maybe like 10 inches square is the footprint, so it was big. And then I took added then like a different sculpt character. This characters are 120 scale, so it was just sort of fun, like a goofy fun thing that I've always had kicking around my bench. So and then that was that's a custom Gundam that is after Makoto Kobayashi. It's like one of the big mech designers in Japan from the 80s. And so I recreated like one of his builds. It's like the size of a soccer ball.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was the only piece of mine that didn't sell in the show. But I'm actually glad that it didn't sell, because I don't know if it would survive being shipped anywhere. I live about an hour away from Clutter, so I just drove my stuff there. So,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that was a vintage King Kong, a Mecha King Kong.
It's right up Robbie's alley.
Yep.
And just basically, it's just sort of drawing in some of the, put my logo on the back, and
I like this right
and
here.
then finally,
really cool.
Too, yep.
Yeah, the Mega Shark Lord from Momoko is he's from Taiwan. He does they're like pretty small. Like the first releases were like 5-6 inches, and then they released this one, and it's like, I think it's like 12 or 14 inches tall.
Wow, that's
wow.
I painted one. I ended up the last decon that was in person, so in 2019, when they first shipped these out, they didn't really package them well, and a couple of them got messed up in shipping, and I ended up with a couple extra ones that the Merry-Go-Round Toys had asked me to paint for them, and so they ended up at decon, and I painted them in such a way that the producer liked them, and I ended up with a show last summer in Taiwan because of those two pieces. But,
nice.
But that toy's awesome. Like, if you can find any blanks, they're cool. It's an awesome toy. It's huge.
Yeah, what? Yeah.
No, it's pretty cool. I can see.
What does one of those cost? They run.
I think the blanks were around 300, maybe.
Okay. not too bad.
It's not. It wasn't too bad. And it's technically soft vinyl, but it's made.
Okay.
It's definitely made in Taiwan. Uh, I think I painted 3. The funny thing is, the same guy has bought all 3 of them. And
Wow.
He's bought every single one.
Yeah, he sent me a photo of all 3 together, and I was like, "Whoa, you could track down all 3." So
It's impressive.
yeah,
Well, the collectors. I mean, people like, what they. I mean, it's not surprising to see somebody who's after that. If they really want it, they go for it. There's ways,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
As we've learned.
Um, but yeah, so continuing with the tank, I'm sort of adapting. The cool thing about Sofubi also is all the pieces all have the same size, but it's like a standardized joints. So they always tend to make the joints standardized, so you can sort of swap things out. And there's certain artists that always swap heads out.
Yep.
Put different heads on bodies. So I am working on a new version of a tank, and it takes part of the old top of the tank and reuses it on the new body.
Like on the new body. Okay.
Yeah. And so hopefully that will help cut down some of the costs for mold making.
Oh, right. So when you do something new, you have the old mold still, but you can make a new figure by interchanging the parts, and it becomes something. That's smart.
So that's sort of how I ended up with so many of the different nozzles or the guns, because that's what I was supposed to do the first time, and
I changed the plan in the factory.
Yeah. So, but we'll see. I'm still waiting. Like, I haven't even built. I drew out the new version in 3D. Sent it to a printer. It's been there forever. Hopefully they'll get it back soon, and then I'll sculpt on top of the 3D print, and then send the master to Japan.
So you start with a design, you make a simplified version of the design you're after.
Yeah.
Get that 3D printed so it's easier to. Well, I can see it because the details that you put on these would be really hard to 3D print and get clean.
Yeah, so basically I'm just sort of printing out like almost basic shapes.
Right. So you can get that clean, sand it down, clean it up, and then you can sculpt on top of that. That's smart. That's just, because I know I've seen some of the 3D prints come in. There's a lot to be desired. I mean, I'm sure there's 3D printers better than the ones I have access to, but
yeah,
even then, the ones that are on the higher end that we get stuff printed from, you can tell they're printed, and there's a lot of post-production work to do.
Right. So that's sort of the idea, and also, and then I'll get to like tweak it and work on it, and so the new version, I think, I'm pretty sure it's 7 inches long by like 6 inches wide and like almost 9 inches tall.
That's a big boy. Yeah.
So it goes from I mean, it's basically taking the top part of the tank, which is 3 inches, and it sort of sticks it on the top. So.
Okay. Yeah, and that's okay. That'll be quite the endeavor.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Now you went purposely. I think you're a big fan of the Japanese sofubi, right? So that's why you really were focused on ensuring. Is that harder to get into a I mean, what's the barrier there? Because it seems like a lot of people go Chinese versus Japanese.
Yeah.
And why is that? I mean, because the
time frame. The time frame is a huge thing. I've heard stories that you can have a piece from concept, like if you have a 3D model on a computer, you can send it to the factory, they'll print it out, make the mold, and you could have a toy in 60 days.
Hey, Jonathan's here, Spy World. What's going on, Jonathan?
That's a pretty good turnaround time, 60 days.
So that's sort of the the nice thing about it in China is that you can do that, and if you know that you want 500, you're all set. I just didn't know that I was gonna have the market. I didn't want to have
Right.
in my base. I didn't want to have my
I
basement.
think it's funny when I say here, and again, I'm not trying to, inflate an ego or anything like that. But I mean, I think it's really funny. We've talked to so many artists, and it seems like everybody has that humility, which is like, I don't know if it's going to sell. I don't know if it's going to buy. I'm putting this out there. I don't know if there's going to be a demand for it. It's funny because in your first story is like you order 80, like you don't have to go 80. Like, oh, that's a lot. I don't think they're going to be gone. Then you're gone in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I also think that's part of the allure because I do think a lot of people, I know me, collect the artist as well, right? You get to meet them, you get a connection. Oh, yeah. That's part of the reason why I love designer toys so much compared to the mass manufactured stuff because there's a soul behind it. And you know the person who's done it, you know who's painted it. Even if it's a collaboration, you know what the base art is and you know the artist who worked on it, and that's what you appreciate. And it's something special, but also it's kind of that thought process. I mean, everybody, biggest names in the world. I mean, when we talked to Quicks on the show, he said the same thing. He's like, well, I did this new thing. I don't think we're going to buy it. And then, of course, guess what? It sells out in 2 seconds. Everybody's mad they didn't get it. You got Arrow controversies on Martian toys. Right. And we see it coming. We're like, what are you kidding me? And the same thing for you. Like when I saw the figure and every time you put out a run, as somebody who's tried to buy it, I don't think you have a problem. I don't think you're going to have a problem. I mean, when you get into bigger pieces like that, you get into different market sizes, right? When you get that big, then you're talking the price point,
right?
We'll squeeze it a little bit.
Well, that's also the nice thing about the small tank. I sell painted ones for $150, so
that's very inexpensive. I mean, that's cheap.
Yes,
and and it doesn't matter if it's being sold at a gallery or if it's through me. It's the same price, and that was sort of the idea. Was like, and the blanks were 50, so I was just trying to get it out at under a certain point, a price point. Cause the thing is like, you guys go to toy shows, you're trying to buy something and you're hustling around and $400, 500, it starts like it gets to be so much. And so like trying to keep the, the cost of the toy versus the size is always important to me. And
that is important. I think it's pretty. I mean, obviously, when you sell out as quickly as you do, you could charge more. But I do like the focus of understanding the collectors and appreciating, trying to get things and not going too high. I remember one of the first shows when I really started looking at Sofubi pieces versus just regular toys or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was like a piece it was like a Dragon House by Black Seed.
Oh, yep.
And then I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Let me think about buying, on a flyer. How much is that? Oh, but that was before I was like, I understood more about it. Like that was more of my introduction to an education on the process and education on the artist, the run sizes, and what normally it is. And you start appreciating, and being married to an artist who struggles with the same thing. Like one of the toughest conversations we have every time she'll paint 20 of something. She's working with Jonathan. You're like, well, what do you want us to charge for it? I have no idea. It's like trying to pick dinner every night, like it's such a hard, because the same thing. She knows that friends are buying it, collectors are buying it. You want to be sensitive to that, but at the same time, you put a lot of work into it. I mean, the painting you're doing. When I had my hand, it's you're putting time, and it's quality stuff. You're not just slapping on It'd be different if you're just like, oh yeah, I'm getting some Japanese vinyl pools of whatever color they have, and I'm just releasing them.
Right.
Yeah,
there's a it's definitely a
Klav Climbing Ghost 1000.
That's $1,000. Well,
nothing wrong with trying.
All right, I just lost my train of thought, so it doesn't matter. But there is it's I always try to factor in as an artist too. It's like you can, you don't want to get burned. Something takes you 10 hours and you think to yourself, like, how long did it take me to do that? You don't, but at the same time, you can't push that onto the buyer.
It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. Yeah.
So when you're starting up and you're starting to move, and if you're breaking into like a new genre or a new style, or you sort of take a bath as the artist, like most
Mhm.
of us do for a while. Like you just sort of like
Yeah.
the problem is the joke is I'm gonna paint these stupid toys either way.
True. Yeah.
And I had been, and I had been, like I've been painting models and painting toys, and all of a sudden it's like, well, people are actually buying these things. Like, all right, so, but at the same time, like now I've gotten to a point now where I can paint faster. Like
Mm.
I make a good amount of it's. I'm not getting burned
Right.
painting.
Right. Well, you got it down, right? You got like
I got it down,
yeah.
but some customizers make these incredible sculpts, and they're amazing, and
Mhm.
they're taking like out like 20, 40, 60 hours,
Mhm.
and then they put it in a show, and it's like, it's a 6-inch toy. What do you like? You can't put a price like they're
Mhm.
like somebody has to, whether it, and then the gallery takes a cut too, and so then like
Oh, yeah.
everything, it's so complicated for the artist trying to
Sure.
decide on like what price you put on it and how and where you land, and
It's a hard market to judge too, right? I
yeah,
mean, we've learned that, I wouldn't say the hard way, but you learn that through pricing things and what's popular and what's collectible anyway, right? Like there's a difference between, my wife can do in a Martian toy gallery a custom Megatech and it can sell for 800 to 1,000, no problem. That
yep,
market's there. That market's used to it.
yep,
That's what they do. But if you go do an abominable, you're not going to get $800, $900. There's no way. That market is just not at that level of collectability.
right,
It's $40 piece. You can't. There's no way, because the people that love those pieces in their collection, whether they love your work or not. So you're right. It's not all things are equal.
right. So it's definitely weird, and it's definitely trying to figure that part that was my when I in my design
Mm-hmm.
concepts. That was part of the thing. I also I didn't want to roll out with a toy that was going to have to be $500,
Right.
and have 30 of them, or
Mm-hmm.
you needed to start, that was the whole point. Like I was trying to take all these things into consideration of
Jonathan Klav
Sorry,
Tom now
Jonathan's.
just went
Yeah.
to $1,000. All right. Well, he's
yeah.
moving. He's moving worlds over here. Yeah. See, Jonathan just ruins everything. Come on, Jonathan.
Yeah.
But back to what you were saying. I think that's absolutely right. I think that's right on. I think the price point, all the thoughts you're doing are right. I mean, that's exactly the same thought process we went through with, and we're coming out from a different thing. You have an established name. You work with all these artists. You're in these shows. You've been worldwide. You've been in Clutter. So your name, carries a lot more to it than coming from the person who's like, well, we're just doing something we love anyway. We have no goals or aspirations of making money on it. It's just something that's a hobby. My wife loves doing it. She does a lot of custom pieces, and then she wanted to make her own character. Like, to back that up, you learn a different way, which is you don't have a name. And so you try to get yourself. I mean, she's been doing a lot of shows and stuff like that. So just thinking of it from a different angle.
Yep. Yep.
Pricing's very important, because if you go too high, you don't get the buyer, you don't get the exposure. And again, it's not about trying to make as much money as possible. It's about sharing your art and being able to do it.
Right. Right. And that's the thing is like, you're either going to have a bunch of pieces unsold at your house,
Mm-hmm.
and then you end up either breaking. My cat's attacking me off camera. You either have a bunch of pieces hanging out and they either break, or you end up repainting them. And then
Right.
That was sort of the thing, is like I would rather sell, like I kind of always started trying to sell my pieces lower, just so I could not have them hanging out anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to have to go through that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a tough thing, but it's always tough to figure it out. And like I said, I think it's something in an artist mentality. I think what it is that it's a vulnerability. You're putting your stuff in there. You're putting your art out there. It's got to be like writing music or writing a book or writing whatever it is. You're putting something that you've created out there to be judged, whether it be judged by people looking at it or judged by people buying it. Right? You're like, every time we launch something, my wife thinks like we do 10, we do 20. She's like, well, at least if they don't sell out, I really like these ones. It's fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but then they sell out. And it may not always be that way. it's not always a sellout. It's not, we have things out there, some shows that haven't. Again, the bigger name you get, the more the people we talk to. We learned a lot from these types of conversations. So I do think it's funny. That's one personality trait that seems to be very shared from people I've talked to. I'm sure there are artists out there that I'm not talking to that probably are like, what are you talking about? I can just touch this one thing and it sells for a million. I mean, they're out there, but
I mean, the funny thing is, you mentioned Quix before. Quix is very humble.
Very, yes, he is.
He's very concerned about making sure that he doesn't think of himself as this golden touch, and if he touches it, it sells.
It does. Yes,
so,
it does. It's true.
But if you talk to him, he's very humble and he's very down to earth. Oh yeah, I hope it goes well, or I hope and that goes a long way.
It does.
When you meet him and you talk to him, and I think that's sort of the, like he's not. You don't necessarily look at it like, oh, he's cashing in, like, oh, he's so.
Yeah, I see that a lot. Like we work a lot with Ron English.
Yep.
Robbie and I at a lot of shows with him, and everything he touches turns to gold too. It doesn't matter, and they mass manufacture toys on it. And I wouldn't say we've talked to him enough to know about like whether he's worried about it selling or not. But he doesn't think about that part of it, right? It's funny with him. It's different. With him, it's just like, I don't know, man. I just create this shit. I love it. I love doing this. I just make these crazy animals and a 3-eyed rabbit, and they make the toys out of it. And if it sells or doesn't, I'm gonna go paint. And he's such a cool guy.
Yeah.
But again, when we first met him, I'm like, oh my god, we're with Ron English. Geez, hopefully it's okay. And he's just like, I remember him looking at us, going, "What's your deal? You're weirding me out, man." But it's the same thing, like monster name, right? Huge. Like we do a lot with Toy Tokyo and Propaganda, and that's how we got introduced. Really working with them is how we got introduced to this whole world,
right?
Just by we were Funko collectors like 7-8 years ago, and like all of a sudden we're working for Propaganda and Pop Life and Pop Asia. I'm out at shows in the Philippines and seeing all these different things. You start seeing like these things that you think like, well, what the hell is that? To like all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's cool. And then you meet the artist. We met Futura. Like anything Futura does sells. Doesn't matter. But he was such a laid back, nice guy. It was amazing. Just chill. And so it's been a really good experience, and that's what's drawn me. And why, we do this show, we've been talking to artists every week now for 3 months, and we have it booked through, I think, November, December, just talking to artists, all sizes and interests and everything like that. Just really loving the community, the creation. I mean, and even just, talking to you about, your approach to it and how you want to keep approaching, you think about the fans. I mean, you're a collector yourself.
Yep.
And working on all different types of things, Tiny Ghost to Chomp. It's a whole different market as well. You're kind of being able to get into that. So it's been a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been I try to have I have a wide variety of stuff that I work on, and it's cool to especially too is like last year my show in Taiwan, the gallery in Taiwan sent me 40 toys that I'd never seen before. And I'm working on like a similar show in Hong Kong right now. And while I know like more familiar with the designers, but it's cool to do these things. And my show at Martian last month, or at Mothership and / Martian, that was like a combination of like their product and some stuff that I had. So it was kind of like, just kind of mixing it up, and then working with Smy World and, doing I did the Chomps last year, I did the Tiny Ghosts coming up in August. And, so it's cool. Like just kind of just, there's so much out there, the thing is like, I just don't paint Sofubi. I like to I enjoy it. Like if I buy a toy, it's going to be Sofubi. But I enjoy like the urban vinyl, the PVC stuff. So, like it's just, there's some cool stuff out there.
Yeah. Sort of what I become too is like, I walk around like 5 Points or Decon or wherever, just window shopping, and I don't know what it is. I just go for what I like. It's a cool piece. I'm gonna get it, and then before you know it, I'm collecting a bunch of it. I have shelves of random stuff here behind me. Of all types of different things, all types of collectibles and stuff. Matter of fact, I got one that I thought. I don't know if you know this. You probably know him already. You know DuBois art. Have you seen it here? I'm going to show you this.
I'm not sure.
Here. I want to show you this. I think I got this in hand because I thought about it with you coming on board, coming here. I'm going to open it up here. So I got introduced to this by Reese O'Brien. He was on the show back in June, and he was showing off some stuff he got because we wanted to see some of the artists he got, and he introduced me to a smaller version of this guy's stuff. So this is I got the wrong person. I got Robbie.
It's like, wow.
So this is like a vinyl piece. It's called it calls it a dangler, but it's like all made up of skulls.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen this piece anywhere.
Yeah.
So he's going to be on the show in September, but I bought a couple pieces now because I'm really interested. But I thought this would be, and I thought it when you were coming on, I wanted to bring this up and show it to you. I just got it in the mail the other day.
What's his Instagram?
DuBois Art is the Instagram.
All right.
Is it articulated at the hips there, Damien?
Yeah, it's articulated at the hips, and then the head. I mean, this is like the slime version head, but he has heads that fit on top of the dome there, right? I didn't get any head. Yeah, but it's articulated at the waist here. And he has a bunch of stuff, and he's done some cool paint applications of it. But this is a cool blank that your style would be amazing on.
Yeah, I think I've seen that on Instagram.
Yeah, probably. That's why I ran
his head has got the Mysterio dome going on up top.
Totally.
This one does. Yes. This version does, but you can get. He has skull heads that'll fit right on top of the dome here.
That's so cool. That's like
a slime head.
You could put something on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I could buy it off his site. Like I could buy a piece.
Okay.
This is just a big, card bag. And there you go. There's the Instagram link right there in the chat. My wife put it in there. But anyway, he's gonna be on the show in a few weeks because once I saw it, I had to talk to him, and he's based in Texas as well. And so. We're in Austin, so there's a lot of cool things down here, in Texas. But
Texas has a lot of great sculptors.
It's a pretty cool place. I'm learning more and more of all the people around here. But yeah, I saw this when I got it in the mail, and I'm like, oh wait, I'm going to talk to Klav today. I'm like, this would be perfect for your style.
I have actually. So now I'm like, I get into this trap where I tend to not look at social media unless I'm posting on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then every once in a while I'm like, oh, cool. And then I go and then I dive in and then I'm going in deep. And
it's probably better for your mental stability to not be on social media that much anyway. So it's probably a good rule. Yeah.
But meanwhile I miss out on a lot of stuff too. So
I saw that Reese. Well, I would have missed out on this too, but then that's why I love talking to other people and their collections. And when Reese brought us, there was a smaller version of this. This is the 8-inch.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one he had was about a 5-inch version of this piece as well. But he has a lot of different versions of this. I got this is the glow in the dark. He had a Kickstarter, I think, or a pre-order option, and I was able to get one of the leftovers he had. And then I reached out to him, and so I'm looking forward to talking to him on his process and the sculpting and painting. That'll be interesting.
Yeah,
this is I think it's among his first vinyl pieces. I actually have a resin piece from him too, a resin chromed one that he did that I originally. Anyway, I thought it would be good there. Well, wow, it's already 10 o'clock. It's already been an hour. It flies by. Mm-hmm. One question I had for you. We've been asking everybody, and of course, I know you're very busy. But with Dahlia, we're going to do a collaboration show. So we've been asking everybody that's on the show if we send them a few Dahlias, if they wouldn't mind painting one.
Yeah. Definitely.
Or working out something with you. I don't know the details of the show. This is all new to us. But we have a lot of cool people. I'm working with John. I'm working with some trusted people, to help me figure out the format of it. But obviously, we want to make it very artist friendly and really, to be honest with you, I think selfishly, we just want to really see cool stuff done with Dahlia, and I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a cool experience handing your blank out to other artists.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We're getting a lot of blanks made now, so we're getting a bunch of them made.
Yep.
And they're coming out pretty good, so we're gonna get those all prepped and ready to go here soon. We don't have a time frame yet, so we can be very flexible on that. We're trying to figure that out. Frankly, just like all other artists, we're like, we don't know if anybody wants to. So
Yep.
every time we're asking, we're like, if you want to, you don't have to. No hard feelings. But
just don't do it in October, and you'll be all set.
no, we're not going to touch October. It's not going to be in October.
Right.
Christina's way too busy in October as well with all the
Right.
shows and everything. So, well, that'd be awesome. So I'll talk to you offline.
Definitely
Get your
come in.
information. I'll send you some. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. It's really really cool hanging out with you. If you're going to be in New York, let's make sure we'll catch up there in person because we'll be there.
So,
Oh right. Yeah.
I'm hoping that by October 1 I'm walking.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be good.
And if I'm not walking, I'm not going to.
No, you can't push it. Yeah, no, that'd be stupid. Because I've seen way too many stories of people that feel good, push it just to set back worse than
and Comic-Con is it's
that's not dabbling and using a leg.
Yeah, I know. I think it was 75% capacity is what the plan is.
Yeah, it's low. It's sold out pretty fast, which usually New York does not.
So it's always crowded. It's a huge show. It's at a huge venue. So if I'm hurt, I'm not. I don't know.
That makes sense. Well, hopefully, if you are going, one, I hope you are because that means you're getting better.
Yep.
And so that's the first thing. And if you are, we'll have to catch up.
Yeah.
When you're there. Thanks a lot for hanging out again. It's fascinating to learn about the process there and love your work and looking forward to the next stuff. And we'll be looking for that Tiny Ghost. That's for sure. We're going to try hard, Jonathan. And Stormy Vault. Now I know Stormy Vault's going to get Invasion Toy. Yeah, we know all them. We're starting to get to know more.
Yep.
So we'll do it. But I really appreciate you coming on and we will talk soon.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
is there somebody we want to raid today?
Well, the STS guys are on.
Okay, so we'll raid the STS guys as normal. Thanks everyone for coming online, hanging out with us. This is super interesting. Up to me. Always love to get to learn more. So we'll send you guys on over to the STS guys.
And then after the STS guys, Patrick M. Cusack is streaming right now for Extra Life for the next 24 hours. So if you
he's doing a 24-hour stream?
He's doing a 24-hour stream. He just started when we started. So
oh my goodness.
He's an hour in. He's got 23 more to go. So if you're up and awake,
got nothing to do, go check out Patrick. He's raising money for Extra Life for kids. So that's always a. Oh wait, I put it in the wrong place. I'm terrible at this nowadays. I'll put it over here. Put it in the right place there.
That might help.
Yeah, it would probably help. All right. While I'm waiting for the raid to load up, let me talk about what we have next week. So next week we have out of Colombia, Bandito Calabazo is going to be joining us. He's actually going to be in the next Clutter show. I forget the name of the show that Clutter's putting on, but he's
Rainbow Sparkles.
Yeah, he's in the Rainbow Sparkles show.
Tanks on that show too, yeah.
Tanks are on that show as well, yep. He's doing some again, this is another person. Robbie bought his piece and showed it to us, and I reached out to him. I love what he's doing. And then after that, we have Resin Rookie, then Fifth Turtle, then Jessica Emmett, Ghost Art, Ghost Hunter Toys, and Ghost Fox. So we have quite a few people lined up. So make sure you join us on Saturday nights. It'd be a lot of fun. All right, we're going to send the raid over now. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Word homies.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.